Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the
Hey everybody, Michael B here, and on today's video we're going to be taking a look at the first 4-player XL cabinet from Arcade1Up, the NBA Jam Shaq Edition.
still go. I never answer to no, no, I still go.
Well, it's official, hell is frozen over, because today I'm reviewing the Arcade1Up NBA Jam Shaq Edition. For those of you who've been following my channel for a while now, you know I've been pretty critical about this release from Arcade1Up because of the questionable quality of the screen used, and of course the even more puzzling decision not to try to recreate the original arcade art and instead cover from head to toe with Shaq branding. Well, huge thanks to Arcade1Up for providing me this cabinet at a discount so I could put it through its paces and find out if these issues were a deal breaker or is the cabinet much better than I originally thought. Believe it or not, the NBA Jam XL Shaq Edition has been added to my arcade. Well, it's actually housed in my overflow section, but it's in the arcade for this filming. I do have to say I was absolutely shocked by just how much I like the form factor of the cabinet, the extra height, width, one-piece side panel build, and extra effort to replicate a real arcade machine. I feel like this is what Arcade1Up should have always been, and that is something you'll be hearing from me a lot in this review. The thing most people will be excited about is that the riser is gone from this model and replaced with a one-piece side panel. Well, one piece is kind of a stretch, as it's actually combined in two parts that meet here at this intersection with a seamless connection. The cabinet basically has a top and a bottom build, much like other home arcades with a bar top and a base. Unlike most of these entries, this cabinet is slightly wider across than other machines that make it look more like a traditional arcade. Now, when it comes to the art on this machine, dear lord, what were they thinking? I will never understand why Arcade1Up strays away from trying to replicate the original art, especially when they clearly already had it licensed with the release of the 3/4 scale arcade. I assume they were banking on the Shaq namesake and machine helping them move some of these cabinets out the door, and that's what led them to this collab, but I am still just so confused. I hate Arcade1Up's collab projects and think it completely misses the mark on the nostalgia product they are selling us, but I get that that's my opinion and others may dig it. What I will say is that if you can get past the side panel art, it does still pay some respect to the original by keeping the basketball background motif and the NBA logo, just with a giant Shaq silhouette all over the side. The front panel was also a step in the wrong direction, as instead of leaving it blank and including those beautiful faux molded coin doors, we got another giant Shaq silhouette and the NBA Jam logo. I honestly just keep scratching my head at who thought this was a good idea. I get in basketball there are only maybe 1 or 2 people with better name recognition than Shaq, but do you really think his likeness and involvement is going to sell these cabs? Moving on to something that is absolutely a positive is the Marquee, and this is easily the biggest and maybe best looking Marquee from Arcade1Up to date. The giant Marquee really does bring home that XL moniker, as this thing is big and really gives it that real arcade feel that's missing from the 3/4 scale. The Marquee is really nicely printed with vibrant colors, sharp graphics, and even light distribution. The only downside is that it isn't as bright as the 3/4 scale Marquees, but more similar to the brightness output of the big blue Marquee. Staying on the positive side, let's talk about the control panel, and this is just as big and good looking as a 4-player control deck on the 3/4 scale NBA Jam. I say just as big, but that isn't entirely true, as it's actually quite a bit deeper than the previous control panel, but that doesn't really provide any extra room or space from the control configuration. The deck is the same width, meaning that with a few extra inches width of the body, the wings the 4-player deck typically has aren't as noticeable. The controls are okay and are the typical sticks and buttons Arcade1Up use and aren't exactly arcade quality, but good enough to play NBA Jam. As always with a 4-player cabinet, you question how comfortable it will be to play with 4 players, and I have to say, the stick placement for player 1 and the button placement for player 4 leave zero room for your palms to rest on the control deck, and your hands will be off the deck. The screen is up next, and unfortunately it is the same 19-inch TN monitor as in Golden Tee 3D, which means there isn't even backlit distribution and you will get screen darkening and discolorization from certain angles. The good news is that this screen is on less of a slant than the Golden Tee monitor, meaning that the effects you noticed on that screen won't be as prevalent on this one. For example, I am 5'11" and I cannot sit on a stool and play Golden Tee. However, when sitting on a stool playing NBA Jam Shaq Edition, the screen looks bright and the colors look good. In fact, while playing directly in front of the cab, while either standing or sitting, you will get a great picture quality from all 4 playable positions. Unfortunately, much like Mortal Kombat, the screen quality issues are extremely noticeable from distances, and especially from the left, as it appears the edge-lit backlighting is coming from the other side. Now, some people won't even give a shit as long as the screen looks good while you are directly in front of it playing, but if this does bother you, stick the cab in a corner where it will be impossible to see the screen from the bad side. The speakers are really good and produce a great sound. Luckily, it looks like the sound issues that were plaguing in the last generation of cabs did not make their way to the XL. One area where I was a little disappointed was the speakers did not have the awesome grill covers that Golden Tee 3D did, and we just got the traditional Arcade1Up cutout holes. Most people are probably wondering if the games or online are any different between the Shaq Edition and the original 3/4 scale NBA Jam. Well, when you turn on the cab, you'll be greeted by a brand new Shaq splash screen that is actually really cool and probably the best thing about the Shaq co-branding with this cab. After that, you are really going to have to try hard to spot any differences. As soon as you get in, you will notice it's the same UI used on the home screen as the 3/4 scale NBA Jam. The game lineup is exactly the same with NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and NBA Hang Time. These are all essentially the same game, meaning they all have the same gameplay set up with tweaks and improvements version after version. Assuming that you are unfamiliar with the 3/4 version and looking at this as your first NBA Jam Arcade1Up, the emulation of the games are amazing and pretty much spot on with the arcade version. The game was worked on by Code Mystics, who are arguably the best developer that Arcade1Up works with, so expect a very arcade accurate experience with no slowdowns or any gameplay issues of any kind. Code Mystics and Arcade1Up had to modify the game to allow for online features, which we will talk about in a minute, and of course adjust the rosters. The roster issues are unfortunately one of the big down points of Arcade1Up's NBA Jam experience, as they were unable to get all the players to sign off on being in the game. If you are a big Reggie Miller fan, bad news, he isn't playable on any game, but this may be a New York Knicks fan dream come true. It's most noticeable in NBA Jam as there are only 2 players per team, and the player removed will have a grayed out duplicate of the first player. In T and Hang Time, there are more than 2 players per team, and you can remove the players who aren't in the game and avoid the grayed out characters, so you don't notice it, but still the rosters aren't accurate to the original. There are also in-game options to modify your experience, such as turning on scan lines for those who want a more traditional CRT look. While these are pretty good looking, I prefer sharp pixels and never use them. The online was one of the biggest selling factors for the original, and that rings true here as the online is just as good. One of the knocks on Arcade1Up's online experience for some cabinets is dead lobbies, but that isn't an issue with NBA Jam, as there are already a ton of these 3/4 scale cabinets out in the wild, and the Shaq Edition allows for crossplay with those cabinets. When you see your name on the online and leaderboards, you will notice it is accompanied by a Shaq logo on the screen identifying you are playing from an XL cabinet as opposed to the 3/4 scale. Gameplay works pretty well online, as you can seamlessly join a game or have players join you mid-game. I've always dug the online experience with my original NBA Jam, and I'm glad nothing was lost in the conversion to the Shaq Edition. So guys, that's my look at the Arcade1Up NBA Jam XL Shaq Edition, and I have to say, I'm surprised by how much I like this cabinet. I went in with some initial concerns about the quality of the monitor, as it appears they were using the subpar TN edge-lit monitor, and of course I didn't like the fact they weren't recreating the original arcade's art. However, after getting the cabinet, I'm not as worried about these 2 issues, as the art isn't as bad as I originally thought it was. It actually does pay homage to the original arcade, and I can't see it as much when it's jammed in against the wall. However, I don't like the front panel and wish they had left that black and included the awesome faux coin doors they're using on all their other cabinets. As for the screen, it's not as bad as the screen in the Golden Tee 3D, as it's not on as much of a slant, but it does have roughly around the same quality picture as the Mortal Kombat 30th, so when you're playing directly in front of it, it's really good. But when you move back and look at it from distances and certain angles, you will notice some discolorization and darkening. But what really sold me on the cabinet is the form factor itself. The extra width, the extra height, the 19-inch screen, the riserless one-piece side panel, everything comes together to really blur the lines between toy arcade and a more robust, quality, lifelike, real-like arcade experience. And it's that overall experience that just sells me on this cabinet and leads me in a direction where I think I am not going to go 3/4 scale going forward, and I'm moving on to XL and Pro in the future. However, I do hope that going forward, Arcade1Up does a better job of recreating the original arcade in terms of art and shape. And of course, I hope to God they get better monitors. Hopefully BOE 4x3 19-inch monitors going forward for the XL and Pro lineups. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think of the NBA Jam Shaq Edition, the first XL 4-player cabinet from Arcade1Up? Is this something you're interested in? Did you already pick one up? And if so, what do you think? And if you didn't pick one up, let me know in the comments why. And was it the screen quality? Was it the price point? Let me know why. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate the support. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll see you guys next time.